you hear me? Am I getting through to you? Hello? Is it late there? There's laughing on the line. Are you sure you're there alone? 'Cause I'm trying to explain something's wrong. You just don't sound the same. Why don't you go outside, kiss the rain whenever you need me, kiss the rain whenever I'm gone too long. If your lips feel lonely and thirsty, kiss the rain and wait for the dawn. Keep in mind we're under the same sky, and the night is empty for me, it's for you. If you feel you can wait till morning, kiss the rain, kiss the rain, kiss the rain. Hello, do you miss me? I hear you say you do, but not the way I'm missing you. What's new? How's the weather? Is it stormy where you are? 'Cause I'm so close, but it feels like you're so far. Oh, wouldn't mean everything if you knew what I'm left imagining. In my mind, would you go, kiss the rain whenever you need me, kiss the rain wherever I'm gone too long. If your lips feel lonely and thirsty, kiss the rain and wait for the dawn. Keep in mind we're under the same sky, and the night is empty for me, it's for you. If you feel you can wait till morning, kiss the rain, kiss the rain, kiss the rain.
All right. It is Sunday, the 24th of March, and I have here with me my friend and colleague, Lennon McCarthy. One second, let me get this crap out of the way. Say hi, Lennon.
Hi.
All right.
Hi, how's it going?
And it's actually not going very well. You see, the Ohio State Buckeyes, you know, I thought, okay, I could have been under the wrong impression, but I thought that Robert Mueller had us set throughout the tournament to go all the way to the Final Four, and we couldn't even get to the Sweet 16. What the fuck? You know, you depend on him for 2 years. The Buckeyes, you know, of course we don't have any talent. We can't shoot in the paint. Everything was three-pointers, no free throws, but what the fuck, Bob? You know, you got to let the entire country down today. What's your opinion?
Adam Schiff has like another 50 investigations to open, though. Are you saying it's over? What are you saying?
I'm saying that as far as the state of Ohio is concerned, Robert Mueller is a failure. What about you?
Oh, in California, he's a success.
Okay. Well, of course, we're being a bit sarcastic here. So, I want to welcome Lennon. He hasn't been here for a couple months or so, and of course, this was cover of Kiss the Rain. Somebody in the chat said that they were feeling very homosexual, which I guess is understandable because she's like a lesbian, I guess, but because of the um what was it, the copyright, I can't actually
I
share the.
don't know the original song or the cover. That's how straight I
Yeah, man, you're like basically John Wayne today. Although that would kind of make you
am.
racist, right?
Yeah, they dug up like an article from like the early '70s, and it's like, see, this guy's a racist. It's like, yeah, he's been dead for like 30 years or something. Okay.
So Len McCarthy is a former, of course, you are a former Bernie voter, but of course you've been doing a lot of cartoons concerning the Trump-Russia investigation.
Yeah,
How
I need to
how
get back to the cartoons.
how vindicated? How do you feel now that this Mueller report is out? Do you feel like your creative energy is back?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely need to get back to the Comrade Trumsky. I have like a dangling cliffhanger that no one cares about Stormy Daniels. Just that Stormy Daniels just set like the whole series into like a coma because it was so boring. That was actually
Kind
that
of
was
like as the Sopranos last season.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking today, and I think who better than Lennon to talk with me about the way forward now that the Mueller report is over, and I believe also the special counsel's office will kind of be dissolved.
Yeah, well, I could show tweets from 2016, except I've been kicked off Twitter 5 times, so they don't exist anymore. But I've been saying RussiaGate was fake since the first second I heard it. Since before the election, the first time I heard it, I just laughed and thought that it wouldn't fool a 5-year-old, and it was straight out of Rocky and Bullwinkle. And that's been my position for the entire time.
Well, the thing is, like when it first happened, I wasn't exactly convinced that Trump was going to be good, but I was like, even if it's true, I don't give a shit. I was like, what?
Well, no, I didn't pay any attention to politics. I voted Democrat, and credit to H.A. Goodman. He's one of the first people I started watching, if not the first, like on YouTube to get like some independent news. And he was talking about WikiLeaks. And I was so blue-pilled, I was like, well, okay, is that legit? I'm going to look it up on Snopes because that's real as far as I know. And Snopes is like, yeah, it's legit. And I show it to my mom and everything. She's like, yeah, I don't want to look at that. But yeah, I haven't really looked back because they're trying to shoot the messenger. Well, they did literally as well as figuratively with Seth Rich.
Yeah.
But they're trying to say like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. It's because it's from Russia. And it's like, well, why don't you address the stuff in the emails which are real? Oh no, it's Russia. It's Russia, Russia, Russia. It doesn't matter what it says.
Yeah, I think that now that that's been kind of deflated, they're going to have to come up with better excuses for a lot of their public because people were expecting so much. They built up their hopes so much on something that was so flimsy to begin with, and now they don't have anything else to base their entire their outrage on besides some of these identity issues, maybe a few of the Trump policies on the border and healthcare, which they barely ever talk about. So given your own experience with, I mean, I don't know if you were an activist, but how do you think that the progressive world is going to cope with this? The progressive world and also the centrist
Well,
world.
I wasn't ever I wouldn't ever call myself an activist. I went to a Jill Stein rally in 2016 and stuff, and I make political commentary, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't go so far as to call myself an activist. The Democrats haven't completely given it up. We'll have to see whether it is the fringe or the mainstream that has the tinfoil hats on, like Adam Schiff with his 50 investigations. We'll have to see how that plays out. I know that it's an issue. I don't know if it's going to be like the whole mainstream still doing it, or if they're going to eventually back away. And because Go ahead, double down, make the Democratic Party the Russia conspiracy party, and see how that goes over. Keep doing it, idiots.
Right, and that's really where the Democrats have gone a little too far already, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull themselves back because they've committed so much to portraying.
I mean, that's what the media is still pushing it so far, but they might. I mean, after it's officially out, hopefully. I agree with all the people saying to release it to the public. So hopefully, maybe some of the mainstream, maybe they'll back off from the fake Russia shit. We'll have to see how it goes, though. I mean, it looks like they might be married to it, though.
Well, they are, because they're continuing to go through. I alluded to this earlier, that they're going to continue doing these investigations, and this is from Fox News, but it's pretty much the same word from everywhere. That Nadler is saying that they're going to keep investigating.
You say Vox or Fox?
Fox.
Is there a difference these days? the Fox just hired Donna Brazile. What the fuck is somebody who got fired from CNN for giving questions to Hillary Clinton, and Fox hires her? So that should tell you what you need. Disney just bought Fox, so you know.
Right. I think by the way that at this point there's no reason why there shouldn't be an antitrust wave against all these companies, Comcast, Time Warner.
It's ridiculous.
Fox and Disney,
And it's Silicon Valley and social media too, plus the mainstream media, and it's trillions of dollars worth of influence, all on the same page with the Democratic Party, affecting the elections, but that's not an issue. I mean, what the fuck? Sorry to curse on your channel, but I don't know, maybe you curse once in a while.
Yeah, we have a viewer who I think usually he watches with his kids. So
okay.
So sorry, man.
Reel it in.
I guess we're gonna have to curse.
I sort of said that without thinking about it.
No, I can still curse in Russia, suka blet.
I don't know any Russian curses, believe it or not.
I guess I'll have to pull the train alone. So the real problem, I think, is that the media and the Democrats have committed so deeply that they don't know how to back up. I think there was a tweet earlier from, let me see if I can get it. I mean, you can keep talking in the meantime, but Cenk actually came out and said that he's not backing down at all.
The guy is a big, just a big lying buffalo, and then he's so full of shit. He's like, I want to get money out of politics, and then he takes millions of dollars from, big neoliberal Democrat donors. I'm sure that has nothing to do with him pushing Democrat bullshit. And then he tries to pretend like, he was with, he's not with them anymore, but he was with Justice Democrats, and he's like, let's get money out of politics, and we're totally different from like the neoliberal Democrats. No, you're not. Stop. It's a sheepdogging operation. It's obvious. I actually saw in 2016 when I supported Jill Stein. Because, I was a liberal. I've been a liberal, like, for the most part, my whole life. So so I wasn't really looking to vote for Trump. Pretty much, at the last minute, I was leaning that way, but I had sort of committed to Jill. But anyway, so I was a Jill Stein supporter. After the WikiLeaks shit came out, and I bailed on Hillary. I thought about Hillary. I was never a Hillary supporter. I thought about her for a minute or two. But I saw Cenk and, I think it was just Cenk anyway, but I saw a taping in L.A. Where he interviewed Jill Stein, and I actually thought it was good. I thought it was fine. He just, he asked her a bunch of questions, and she talked and stuff, and it was fine. But I was never like a TYT guy. It was like the first time I heard of them was in 2016 because I didn't really follow that stuff.
Wait, so let me go a few tweets back, because Cenk Uygur is just going back and forth with Common Cause and with Glenn Greenwald. He's just it's amazing.
Well, there was Hard Bastard recently did one of his he's doing upload videos again. He did one about Cenk. I think it was a little while ago. But he actually had him admitting that there was no Russian collusion at one point. But he's probably flip-flopping on that. He's like, but he's just, since that's like really super weak right now, I think he's more going for the corruption angle. Like, oh my God, he's so corrupt. And then, I don't know if he pushes the conspiracy theory about the Russia and the NRA, which is, I don't know if I should say retarded or not, but there it is. You know,
Well,
it's mentally
Willman said
challenged.
that we
It
can
doesn't make
curse.
any sense.
Willman said that we can curse, so I think we might want to segue into an Andrew Dice Clay video.
It's
That's-
R worded.
I'm just kidding. Well, Willman, we want you here. And we need you here. I feel so
Trump is
pathetic.
so corrupt.
Yeah. So
Oh, come on. Yeah, we need to clean up politics and start with Trump. And Democrats are fine. No corruption there.
Wait,
our sacred institutions. And Bernie's like, Russia is interfering with our sacred electoral process, and come on.
hold
really?
on. I want to play this jank video though.
Okay.
So
I might not be able to hear it. I'm not sure.
You won't be able to. Let me send you the URL, and then you can.
Okay.
Then so everybody can see it now on my screen. I'm gonna send you the URL, and we'll have to pause. And these guys are mostly drilled on this already, but I'll have to let you know when we pause and when we start again.
All right.
So, okay, let me know when you're ready.
All right. I'm not ready yet.
That's fine. Everybody, welcome. I got if you're just joining, we have Zatoichi, Willman, HFX Pro, the two Larrys, Geislinger and Gerke. So this is Lennon McCarthy here. We're looking at the path forward after the Mueller report, which I'm sure there will be more lulls ahead. You ready yet?
I haven't seen the. Where's the link?
It should be in your chat in the Hangouts chat. Here.
I don't see it.
It should be on your.
Okay, I see it now.
Right
Okay, I'm not ready yet, but I see the links. So just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, I have it now.
All right. Press play.
So the Mueller report is in, but we don't know yet what's in it. We do know what was reported on Friday night, which Anna and John covered on the Young Turks main show, which is that it appears that the reports say that there are going to be no further indictments. The Republicans are overjoyed about this. Well, let me explain why they're wrong about that, and then I'll explain why the Democrats are wrong. And but they say that there might be also more crimes that were possibly mentioned in the report.
I watched 30 seconds. I just paused it.
Let's start with the Democrats. Well,
all right, so I'm at 38 seconds. That
okay.
He's already hedging his statement. Look at that balcony behind him. I mean, it's just beautiful. Cenk living there while I'm gonna have 60.
Yeah, he looks like he's in a villa in Italy or France or something.
This is the way you said 30 seconds?
Well, no, I just forwarded it to 38 and paused it. I was a few seconds short.
Okay, so, yeah, this, the look on his face right now is
he looks like he's
please don't pull out nice investors.
I have it paused. He's it's like this.
All right, let's go.
Kissing some Democrats.
Why do I think the Democrats are likely wrong about their theory on
Fuck her
collusion?
up, big boy. I'm going.
If they put all their eggs in the basket of, during the election, Donald Trump called Vladimir Putin, and then Putin called him back, and they said, hey, should we rig the election? Oh, yeah, let's totally rig the election together. Is that what they think? Because that's definitely not what I think. I think that is quite unlikely. And if that's not what they think, they certainly made people think that that's what they believe. And so before Mueller's investigation, they put all their eggs in that basket, which is already foolish. And then now, right before it came out, Pelosi said, well, we're not going to do impeachment, unless the Mueller report comes in with something, I guess, devastating, et cetera. She barely even said that, right? So now people are waiting okay, if the Mueller report shows there was a homicide, double homicide, then yes, they do. Democrats and everybody else does something about Trump. Otherwise, they don't do anything. Okay. No, that's a really stupid theory, if you ask me, by the Democrats, and a stupid way to handle this situation. So I think the Democrats are wrong in that sense. Now, why do I think the Republicans are wrong? Well, they say there's no collusion at all between Trump and Russia. I don't know what you're talking about. Guy's perfectly innocent. There's nothing weird at all going on between them. Okay. No. So I think that there clearly is collusion based on the publicly available evidence. So then now conservatives and some progressives go, what do you mean? I've said there's collusion before and after the election. So that has led to a lot of conservatives going, collusion after an election? That doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does.
So stop. I'm at 229. Okay. So he already knows. He makes that ridiculous. You know how Hard Bastard says that he's doing like the imaginary puppet show without puppets.
Yeah, well, he just makes up shit in his mind and then he proceeds as though it's real.
Well, he takes what he does is, in this case, I guess he takes like legitimate questions that any rational like forget for example that I'm kind of more of a libertarian and you obviously are not a progressive anymore, but a rational person of any stripe would ask, what the hell is collusion after an election? What the hell does that even mean? But he makes it sound like it's the most ridiculous question ever.
Well, I mean, you can say that he's secretly working with Russia behind the scenes, but the thing is, the FBI has been spying on him for years now, since before he was president. I think maybe they would have evidence if that was the case. If he's calling up Putin every day and saying, "Okay, what's the next part of the Russian plan?" Give me a break. I mean, they've been literally spying on him for years. When do they think that he's talking to Putin? And what, aside from the treason summit and shit, where he's doing his job as a world leader?
Well, the fact is that they keep saying this is the thing that I keep hearing from. Who was the person that I saw this most prominently from? It might have been Bill Kristol. He said, well, this is kind of worthless since the FBI and Mueller never directly interviewed Donald Trump. So how are they supposed to know that he didn't speak to?
Well, he gave him
Mueller?
he gave him the written answers. That stuff is on the record. I don't think I don't care if he interviewed Trump or not. Honestly, I mean, he gave him some answers though. I mean, what do we need to have an interview with Trump and then we're going to be done with this, or are we just going to have another 50 investigations regardless because some people are in denial?
Oh, we're going to have those investigations no matter what, but we're going to get to that.
Trump's taxes, and forget about Dianne Feinstein having a Chinese spy for 20 years.
Yeah, there's Feinstein, there's Imran
and there's
scandal.
Keith Ellison. There's Keith Ellison with his abuse allegations that we don't care about anymore. There's the governor and lieutenant governor of Virginia. They're still in office with their ridiculous scandals. There's too many scandals from the Democrats to even keep track of. But we're worried about like if Trump exaggerated his finances on a loan like 20 years ago. I don't give a shit. What are they talking about?
Right, and I think even Paul Sperry has released kind of this statement saying that Devin Nunes has suggested that they are going to be putting in what do you call them? Criminal referrals to the FBI from the House Judiciary Committee, or sorry, it might be the House Intelligence or Oversight Committees, whichever one it is. And those are going to be basically taking down a number of these intelligence officials that were basically coordinating with the Obama administration to frame Donald Trump and his associates. So,
well, the thing about like having, sorry, I'm just interrupting. But the thing about like how like impeachment or like the 25th Amendment, which is separate, or how any of this works, or not being able to indict a sitting president, there's okay, so impeachment can be 100% political. So if both sides of the aisle really hated a president, they could absolutely take him out of office because they don't like him. But the trick is you can't do it because one party doesn't like him. You just can't do that because obviously there are going to be politicians that the opposing party hates. I mean, yeah, if you're lucky, your own party doesn't hate you. But obviously, there's always going to be politicians that the opposite side of the aisle are like, we hate that guy. And you just can't impeach a president because you hate him. Don't you think that they thought of this hundreds of years ago, that like the opposition party could just like come up with a million fake scandals, like hire people, pay them off, and say, oh, I'm going to sue the president because he raped me 20 years ago, but I have no evidence or something. They thought of that hundreds of years ago, which is why I think that has to do with not being able to indict a sitting president, because you can't just come up with a bunch of fake legal bullshit to hamstring a president because you don't like him. And if it was serious enough, if there was irrefutable evidence that he was a traitor, for example, he would be out of office the next day. You know what I mean? They could use impeachment for that or whatever they need to use. But you can't just get a president out of office because particularly the opposition party hates him. That's nonsense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what they've been trying to say. Like Tom Steyer and his
and Lincoln just like jailed the press. He was like, because I would say Lincoln is more divisive than Trump. I think we can safely, that Lincoln was divisive. Whether you love him or hate him, he was divisive. And yeah, the press was talking smack about him, and he just jailed him at one point.
Yeah, FDR was also like that. Okay, let's
just imagine if you hated FDR, how screwed you'd be for like those 4 terms.
Oh, you'd be in like some camp in New Mexico.
In hell. Oh, he actually put he put the Japanese Americans in camps.
All right, I'm at 229. You want to keep going?
Okay.
All right, play.
Of course it does. They're just saying, well, are you trying to say that he stole the election after the election? No, I'm not saying he stole the election. So collusion means working together, and in this case for a nefarious purpose. So let's take it one step at a time. What does it mean before the election? So Donald Trump has been borrowing money from the Russians for a very, very long time. They've been investing into his properties for a very long time. Now, if you just got normal investments, no big deal, right? People get investments from other countries.
Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Other people from all across the world buy properties in Florida, New York, etc. If there's no other pattern, that would be no big deal at all, okay? And the fact that there's some Russian citizens who have bought something doesn't mean anything either, okay? But Eric Trump, both the Trump kids talked about how the Russians have been giving them a lot. They don't need money from anyone else because the Russians have been giving them a lot of money for a long time now. When asked about the golf courses, they said, we get all our money from the Russians. And they said, why? He said, because they really, really like golf. Okay, that's not a thing. Nobody gives you hundreds of millions of dollars because they really like golf, and certainly not Russian oligarchs. So now you have to also remember that Trump...
Pause, 348.
What? Okay, he just limit. Sorry, what is he talking about with Russians giving Trump hundreds of millions of dollars? That was actually Hillary got millions of dollars from the Russians for the election. She got even more from Saudi Arabia, like millions and millions of dollars. Is that not a campaign finance problem?
Well, I thought the connection between him and some Russians was that they bought his properties.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that. He's an international businessman. It was before he was president.
If you live in the states I guess if you live in New York City, New Jersey, and Florida and southern Florida, you know that there's tons of Russians that buy a lot of properties there, and some of them happen to be, in the Bratva, as they call it, the Russian mafia. But you sell properties to people. It doesn't necessarily, even if they're criminal elements, it doesn't matter if you're selling a property to somebody. It's not your responsibility what they do on their own private time. I'm sure that he actually sold properties to our mafia back in the day.
We're not at war with Russia, and this new fake Cold War didn't start until Hillary started it in 2016. It came out of nowhere. She pulled it out of her ass. So this whole idea that doing business with Russians is nefarious is nonsense anyway, especially pre-2016 when the new Cold War started.
All right, let's keep going. 348. You ready?
Yeah.
Play.
Trump went bankrupt 6 different times, and then he is, at the height of those bankruptcies, rescued by Russian loans. There are 63 different billionaire Russians, not average citizens, 63 Russian billionaires that buy properties in Trump across the country, okay? So that's the Russian, that is Do I know? Do I have receipts? Did the Russian oligarchs call me? Did Trump call me? No, I don't have. That's why I was hoping Mueller looked into it. Now I don't know if he did. I'm now a little worried he didn't. Okay, but does that look like telltale money laundering? Yes, that looks like money laundering 101. If you don't know, this is how a lot of different corrupt rich people get money out of the country, of the different various countries, the Saudis, the Chinese, the Russians, so many other countries. They come in and they buy properties here, and they're even willing to lose money on it, but it cleans their money as they do those transactions. They buy properties, they sell them, and now, hey, it's a legitimate money that I've got in a bank account. I bought the property, I sold the property. You see that? So no force on earth is going to convince me that Trump was just having innocent relationship with the Russians, and the Russian oligarchs all thought that Trump was a wonderful investment, and they weren't trying to launder money at all. Can anything convince me? I mean, it's a little bit of a hyperbole, not much, but sure, if Mueller looked into it, and I trusted he's a thorough investigator, and said, oh no, I got Trump's tax returns, I looked at those transactions, and it turns out they're clean. Yeah, okay, that would convince me. If Mueller didn't look into it, am I convinced that Trump didn't do money laundering with the Russians? Absolutely not. If Mueller doesn't look into it, that doesn't mean Trump didn't do it. That's insane. And that's why I've been saying for a long time now,
So at 5:49, I paused it.
All right.
The lack of evidence does not mean that he didn't do it.
We're not at war with Russia.
Well,
it's just nonsense, and there's no like big establishment Democrats that could take this level of scrutiny. They'd all be thrown out of office and investigated and imprisoned if we're so worried about how money and politics works. This is a crock of shit. It doesn't when there was no Cold War between around 1989, 1990, and 2016. That wasn't a thing. Russia was not our enemy at that time. And he's just going to go back in time and pretend that, doing business with Russians in, the 90s, then they were going to make him the president in 2016. It's idiotic.
Yeah, the thing that I keep thinking about is how these people, it doesn't matter what the crime is. It just depends who the suspect is. Let's say, with George Zimmerman, okay? Nobody's saying that George Zimmerman is a great person, but the court couldn't prove that he had a premeditated intent to kill Trayvon Martin. Does TYT care? No. George Zimmerman is a horrible racist. Then when it comes to Kavanaugh, they basically painted him as a serial rapist. Despite
they still even after all that shit was pretty much debunked. She had 4 or 5 witnesses that said it never happened and all of that shit, and he's confirmed anyway. And then they still keep on defaming him, pushing lies. They refuse to give it up. And Christine Ford, just withdrew into the shadows with her million GoFundMe dollars, and her CIA family or whatever. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And what's going on with all the libel? Like, at what point do you have to stop pushing shit like Trump is a Russian spy after the Mueller report comes out and says that that's not the case? Like, at what point does it become sedition and libel?
Yeah, I think at a certain point, people are gonna have to sue them. I know that BuzzFeed is already being sued. So.
And it's harder to, if you can say a lot of shit about the president because of the First Amendment, and also there's a different standard for libeling public figures. But I really think that having a free press, and then having a press that is 90% treasonous against the president, that it's like, okay, you can have a political opinion, you can have a spin, that's fine. But to just publish and broadcast a bunch of lies, that's not okay. Like blatant lies like that.
Yeah, I think that the libel suits are not really, it's not Trump that's suing them, but some other people.
No, I'm just saying it would be difficult, because of that, not just as a public figure, but as the president, that it's kind of granted that if you want to rant about the president being a traitor, no matter who it is, you probably can. But if you're if you're mainstream media and that's your message every night, you might be doing something wrong.
Right, and I think that the issue with the mainstream media is that not enough people have sued them in the past. People that could have,
Well, yeah, there's the Covington thing, which I think is great. Just sue them right out of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently Nunes is suing Twitter, but I don't know if that's really going to go anywhere. Anyway, let's keep
It seemed
going.
a little bit like a weird lawsuit.
Yeah, it is going to be. That's a borderline one. I don't even know if I support that lawsuit.
I don't think he's talking about like parody accounts and stuff, and that's missing the point a little bit. But in general, I would support, suing.
Anyway, let's keep going. I'm at 5:49. You ready?
All right.
Play.
Yeah.
Damn it, if Mueller didn't look at the money laundering, we're looking at the wrong things. Because a lot of the cooperation, and I think, again, illicit, illegal cooperation between the Trump and the Russians happens well before the election, okay? So then what's collusion after the election? Well, I think the Russians during the election, did they interfere, quote unquote interfere? Yes. Did they do the fake news? Yes. Did they buy those troll farms, do tweets? Yes. But like one report had it at 4 million Twitter impressions. That's nearly nothing. I don't think that's the big deal. If the Democrats think that's the big deal, they're crazy and they're totally making excuses for Hillary Clinton losing. And why would the Russians go into that Trump Tower meeting and not give the information about Hillary Clinton? So I think they're trying to.
So pause at 6:42. So he still thinks that it was a real meeting with Russian agents at Trump Tower. What's her name? Veselnitskaya. I forgot, Natalia Veselnitskaya. She was connected to the Clintons. That was the whole point.
Yeah, it was a whole setup to try to entrap Donald Trump Jr. and nothing happened at the meeting. So even if she had dirt on Hillary Clinton and gave it to him or whatever, I mean, that would be something for the Democrats to chew on and everything. I'm not even sure that that's illegal or anything, but that didn't even happen. It's a big nothing burger. It was like it was an attempted setup that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And Hillary and Hillary and crew, the people that funded the dossier, those assholes are colluding with Russians. And also there's her Uranium One deal, and so she planned this Russia shit years in advance because people didn't like her Uranium One deal. So she decided to try and paint Trump as a Russian spy.
Right. I mean,
or Rand Paul or whoever else she was going to be running against.
Yeah,
I mean, that was revealed in Wiki.
McCain,
it wasn't just Trump; it was anybody she was running against. She mentioned Rand Paul.
McCain called Rand Paul Russian agent before he died.
And then, that was funny when so recently Trump went off on McCain. But it was because he wouldn't have said anything except some reporter was trying to grill him about McCain. And I like that he was just like, I didn't like McCain. I'm never going to like McCain. That was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, by the way, so before we get back to the video, AIPAC had a tribute to McCain today. And that's why I'm not going to defend AIPAC, because I don't like, even if an organization has some small tie to a cause that I might support, but if they're completely full of crap, I'm not going to support them. It's the same thing. By the way, do you know who Mayim Bialik is, the woman from Big Bang Theory? So
yes.
About 2 years ago, there was this video where she explained being a Zionist and a feminist. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be a part of I think feminism is ridiculous and, it's a bygone cause. And if you're going to tie those two together, then maybe I'm just going to ignore you. I'm not going to support somebody just because they happen to be, they happen to support some things that I like. It's so stupid. And now people are saying, well, AIPAC is defending, the real relationship or something. No, I'm not going to, you don't have to support one thing. Have you seen, Sticks Hexenhammer?
Yeah.
McCarthy. So yeah, I'm sorry to get into this tangent, but he made like a great video where he said he can condemn both Ilhan Omar and also not support what's her name, the APAC organization.
Yeah. So
So
I heard that APAC is more. Is it more? I know that it's pro-Israel. Is it more right-leaning? Somebody was saying that, like more neocon oriented, or do they do? Some of the Democrats support them, or
yeah,
is it,
they're an
is it more
organization that
nonpartisan?
they're a
Pro-Israel?
lobbying group. They're kind of they're a lobbying group, but they don't do direct donations. So the thing is, so I don't really think that the way that they're conceiving of the Israeli-American relationship really helps anyone. Like I was in the Israeli army, I saw the way that U.S. influence on Israel affects the defense industry over there. It kind of makes it dependent, and of course they're always kind of looking out to, you know, I guess adhere to American requests with regards to things that they want to do there. They don't actually look after their interests because they're always self-conscious of whether the U.S. is going to approve. And then vice versa over here, you have all these connections with these people in Congress, these dirty politicians, and on both sides of the aisle, by the way, including Graham and Feinstein, and by the way, Kamala Harris as well. So no, I'm not going to support. I could support my family and friends in Israel without supporting an organization that I don't like. And I think,
Well, yeah, and okay, go ahead.
yeah, I think Sticks Hexenhammer, who has even like less of a vested interest because he as a matter of fact doesn't like Israel anyway. So he can. You don't have to take a side in an argument where you have problems with both sides.
Well, I think it's very reasonable to a person can support Israel without wanting the U.S. and Israel to be tied too closely together, or for the billions of dollars of aid, or the criticism. Like I understand, like you could be pro-Israel but still be critical of U.S.-Israel relations or some of the stuff that Israel does.
Right, and I have like
I think all the countries should be independent too, and the same. It's not just it's Israel. But it's also the UK. The Five Eyes are all intertwined. The people in like New Zealand, they're just. I mean, I don't know anything about their government really, but it just appears like it's just like a deep state joke. The way they just take away their rights, just like a snap. There's one incident, and we have the prime minister wears a hijab and takes everybody's guns away. I think it's a joke. I don't think they have sovereignty in New Zealand. I think it's like a Five Eyes situation there. I think, internationally that all the countries they can be allies and everything is fine and friends, but I don't think that they should be interconnected to the point where the countries aren't sovereign. I think the UK is also a joke.
Yeah, I think we're those of us that have been on YouTube for a while, we understand this issue. They think those organizations that are NGOs like the NAACP.
And it's not Trump and Russia that are like this either. That's nonsense.
Right. Yeah. That's like that's. I mean, we'll get back to that in a second. But the thing is, like, you have these organizations, the Anti-Defamation League, the SPLC, the NAACP. So they think the real threat are people like. I mean, we have one guy in the chat, S Fresh, who said something about Jews. Like, I personally, I don't care. Like, if they silence one person and like delete his account, so that person can just open the account, say something again. If you delete their accounts, they end up like wanting to do this even more. So I say if you let people blow off steam, I don't really care. If people want to say something like edgy, it's the same as what happened with Carlson.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Just let people. We need free speech, and I think there'd be less hatred in the world, because when you clamp down and tell everybody they can't, what they can and can't say, that just makes the people who are being censored. It makes them more angry. It puts them, they're off in the shadows somewhere, getting more angry, getting more radical, and you just need to let people just talk openly.
Yeah, you actually throw more gasoline on the fire, because then they have grounds to say that they're being censored and everything. It's just, I don't believe in, like, there's very, very, very few cases where I believe that people should be censored. I think, like, for example, people who who actually carry out threats or use it to
Yeah, and
harass people.
that
in their
stuff
business.
is already an exception to the First Amendment. I mean, we have laws that deal with threats of violence and slander. So that's already taken care of by the laws that we have in this country. And then when the social media companies try and say, well, we're international, so blah blah blah, and it's like, yeah, but in Pakistan, if somebody if somebody's a heretic or whatever you call it, then you'll turn them into the police so they can be jailed or killed or whatever, or whatever the case may be in these different countries. So don't use that as an excuse. And these countries these companies are American too. So it's just ridiculous that they think that they don't need to follow the laws of America. It's nonsense. Oh, it's a private company, so therefore they're exempt from the Constitution. Fuck that. And then they say, oh, well, it's not the government doing it. Well, it's the public square. And when did private companies have the right to buy up the public square? I don't recall the public being paid for that.
Yeah, that's what's been
And they're
going on.
affecting elections too. If a few Russian ads, the narrative about the Russian ads affecting the election is laughable. And the thing is there was nothing illegal or questionable about it until after the fact, and then they try and act like it's nefarious. When really, if running Russian ads during an election cycle, if that is some sort of crime, if that's some sort of treason, then throw Zuckerberg in prison for colluding with Russia. It's nonsense. It's not even consistent.
All right, let's see if we can get a little further with Jank and his theory. You ready? 642.
Okay.
Play.
Put the Trump administration in a compromising position, but they didn't necessarily do that collusion. But I don't know those details. Mueller report's going to have that. We'll find out hopefully in a couple of days. Okay. But after the election, Trump goes and has, let alone the things you can see with the naked eye, all the different things where he is helping Russia over the top. Look, I know some of you disagree with that, and I don't want to get back into that gigantic debate, okay? Well, he was against the Russians on one or two things, and he was weirdly, massively in favor of them in unprecedented fashion in 28 different ways. Okay, so, but you can have that debate, and that's a legitimate debate, okay? But what is not a legitimate debate is Trump goes and has meetings with the Russians. And again, there are many examples, but I'm giving you one of them here. Or with Vladimir Putin himself. And he won't allow any other American officials into those meetings. He literally takes the American translator's notes from out of his hand in one of those meetings and won't let him talk about it. In the others, he doesn't allow the American translator into the meeting with Putin in the first place. Unprecedented. Crazy. And no force on earth is going, unless you have actual recordings or the translator, right, is going to convince me that that's a normal thing. No, Trump and Putin are having perfectly honest, fair, legitimate conversations that Trump doesn't want to hide at all. He just thought the Russian translator would do a better job, and he didn't want any Americans there, not because he was trying to hide any evidence of working with the Russians. No way! That is so incredibly irrational. So, again, if there's overwhelming evidence, Mueller looked into it, he found the translator, and the translator says, no, before he took my notes in that meeting, they didn't say anything bad at all. I don't know why he took my notes, and I can tell you exactly what they said. And they didn't talk about any business dealings. They didn't talk about Trump owes the Russians for all the favors they gave him and all the loans that they gave him and how they rescued him and how they want something back now, right? Okay, then if you've got those receipts, no problem. But if Mueller didn't look into that, that doesn't mean Trump didn't do it. If they don't have recordings of those Trump-Putin meetings because Trump wouldn't allow any Americans in, that doesn't mean there wasn't something fishy going on. That quite the opposite. That definitely means something.
Pause at 9:08, and he said something fishy, so let's welcome Stormy Horseface Daniels to the chat. It's
he's full of shit when these Democrats, they just say shit's unprecedented and they're pulling it out of their ass. Like they said, Trump is going against constitutional norms. Oh, and abolish the Electoral College and shit. And they say the most wacky shit that they want to basically rip the Constitution in half, but it's Trump. Trump's the problem. If he's the president of the United States, if he wants to have a private meeting with a world leader, that's fine. I'm pretty sure that's not unprecedented. I think he's making that up. Kennedy actually, you know how Nixon had an issue with he taped a bunch of stuff, but I heard that Kennedy actually bugged the White House because he was tired of having meetings with people and they say different shit in public than they do in private.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I've actually had a Secret Service officer on this show, Gary Byrne, who's a published author.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he actually told me that when he was in the Secret Service, there was the meeting with the Chinese generals who came to visit Clinton in, I think it was sometime during the 1996 election, and they actually brought suitcases full of cash to give to his campaign. And they went through the metal detector, and Gary Byrne was like, yeah, everybody was like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? I mean, these are suitcases full of cash. And I guess they got an order from above, yeah, let the cash go through. So, yeah, thank you. I mean, you know, Gary, I guess, you know, it's not his fault because he was, you know, he was a personal part. He was part of the White House protective detail. But the Secret Service as an organization, they let the country down by letting that go.
Yeah, well, it's if you're gonna talk about corruption and shit, you know, I don't know, maybe Trump isn't perfect or whatever. Maybe some of his business deals in the past were like a tiny bit shady. But if you just put it in context compared with the other politicians, there's no comparison. All these Democrats would be thrown right out of office if they had the level of scrutiny that Trump has.
Yeah, somebody just pointed out that we both have bookshelves and whatever, so we have to do the mandatory high five. So, come on, man, don't leave me hanging.
I don't know. I can't. It's just showing me your avatar.
No, you have to do the other
Is that the right direction or is it this direction?
That one. Lennon can't actually see me because we're not like he's on Hangouts, but my camera is on OBS. So sorry.
If I watch it on YouTube, it'll just be delayed, and I'll just get more confused.
Anyway, let's keep going with the video. I'm at 9:08. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Issue was going on. So, a very normal, and I would even say likely scenario is the Russian oligarchs laundered the money through the Trump. They have evidence of that, overwhelming evidence of that. That's obvious. Now Putin does. They don't expect Trump to win. They're causing chaos. Yes, they're interfering in the election. Yes, they're doing the social media.
So pause at 9:30, so I have to do this so fast. He's like, oh, there's overwhelming evidence of this, obviously. No, because you don't have that evidence, Jank. You don't have it.
The social media shit is not a crime until they decide it is after the election. It's nonsense. Anybody from any country can place ads on Facebook or wherever. It's nonsense. And they had no effect either. Nobody saw it.
All right, play.
Fake news and all those different things. Does that materially affect the election? Well, I mean, the election was so close, everything affected the election. But that doesn't mean that Trump necessarily worked with them during the election. But after the election, Putin pulls him aside and says, you know, we did all that money laundering together. We just turned that in, and you're in a world of trouble. You're going to go to prison. So here's what you're going to do for us. And then Trump proceeds to do just that. So that is how you have collusion before potentially before the election and after the election, but not necessarily during the election. So that's why the Democrats and the Republicans can both be wrong about it. Now, if you don't believe that, have at it, Hoss. And we're going to find out what the Mueller report says, hopefully soon enough. But if he didn't look into the money laundering, that's not really that interesting a report. If he can't tell us the conversations that Trump has had with the Russians after the election, that's not really that interesting a report. If he's got that stuff and it shows Trump is innocent, great, no problem. Then I'll say, hey, you know what? I trust Mueller as a prosecutor. If he investigated those things and Trump didn't do it, yes, then I will believe it, okay? But if he didn't look into it, I'm not interested in a victory lap by the Republicans going like, ha ha, we got away with it. We got away with it doesn't mean you're innocent. So, God, I hope Mueller looked into it. Now I'm a little worried he didn't, okay? And B, if he didn't, I hope that he referred those cases and actual prosecutors whose job is to look into those transactions and those dealings continue to pursue it, and don't listen to the Democrats who are like, well, if Mueller didn't find anything and it's some sort of thing where, hey, I can't blame the Russians for Hillary Clinton losing, then I'm no longer interested. I don't care what the Democrats think, and I don't care about the politics of it. I care about the reality of it. So let's see what's in that report, and then let's see what's also not in that report and what other prosecutors might pursue on these very legitimate issues, both before and after the election. Okay, so the Mueller report is...
1 second. This fat fucking
on
whore.
social media, if social media, if a few Russian ads are going to affect an election and that's a problem, is it a problem that Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, those are the big ones, that they constantly have their thumb on the scale for Democrats? That's not a problem? And like Tim Pool brought up this point when he was talking to Jack Dorsey, and I really think either it has such an if you want to exempt like a small company, that's fine. I'm talking about stuff like Twitter and Facebook that's gigantic and ubiquitous. That really they either need to enforce the First Amendment for Americans or not do business in America and just be a stupid bullshit globalist company that has their non-free speech everywhere else because they're affecting United States elections and their American companies. It's bullshit.
So we have this is Cenk Uyghur's Twitter feed from the past 14 hours, I guess. Let's go a little.
And they were censoring. I think this has to do with the Nunes lawsuits. They're literally like shadow banning like Republican politicians and shit. When obviously the politicians, they use Twitter as a tool. I mean, there might be some restrictions on it, but for the most part, you're on Twitter, you're promoting yourself, whatever you're doing. So obviously, politicians being on Twitter is kind of important. And then Twitter thinks they can just fucking shadow ban, half the, the side of the aisle, and that's okay. It's ridiculous.
So on March 22nd, he says it means Donald Trump has been very okay. So Brandon, this other like DSA dickhead, tweeted to him. He's like, "What does collusion after the election mean? You can say there was corruption going on, but engaging in quote collusion after an election doesn't help you win it. You'd be more credible if you just
Trump is not that favorable."
Wait, let me keep going though, because it's funny when you hear it like in continuity. So he says, Junk says it means real Donald Trump has very likely been helping the Russians get money out of Russia for decades, and after the election they call in their favors. So he's been helping them, and yet
for decades when we had no Cold War and they weren't our enemy.
Listen, hold on. He's been helping them, but he owes them a favor. That really makes sense. That doesn't mean the rigged election.
Why couldn't Trump afford to buy like the $1,000 worth of Facebook ads himself that he needed to get Russia involved? That's retarded.
But the other thing is,
you can spend an unlimited money. He's a billionaire, and I believe that legally you can spend as much of your own money as you want on your own campaign. But he's going to get Russia to like place 3 ads. Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make.
He could have bought 50 times as many ads himself and not involved Russia.
But like the logic itself doesn't make any sense, because he's trying to say that that Trump owes Russia favors because he helped them. You understand that? That's not how a quid pro. If I help you, that means you owe me. It doesn't mean I owe you because.
Russia helped him win by placing those 3 ads about Black Lives Matter.
But remember, he said that Trump didn't really want to win the election. So
he's all over the place. He's like, there was no collusion. There was collusion. He's colluding after the election. What is he like astral projecting in his dreams and talking to Putin? Like they're spying on him all the time. I don't think they stopped spying on him, by the way. I mean, maybe they did, probably not. But the FBI's been spying on him for years. Like, remember when he said Obama wiretapped me, and then everybody said that he was crazy?
No, it's very simple. Trump is using the interdimensional pedophiles that are going
Well, he's
after
taking
Alex Jones.
DMT and he's talking
Yeah.
to the space elves or the interdimensional elves.
through Rogan's microphone. And Eddie Bravo keeps the FBI away with his what's it called, Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves. That's it. We got it. We got him, Jake.
I want to see a flat Earth expedition though to Antarctica. Alex Jones believes in the round Earth, by the way, so don't get it twisted. But he said, I think he's willing to fund like an expedition to Antarctica, like a flat Earth expedition.
Yeah, he said that.
I'd definitely be interested in seeing that.
He said that to Eddie during the stream.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me keep going with these tweets though. And then he said, "Isn't it so?" Then he starts fighting with this stupid group, Common Cause, and he says, "Isn't it incredible that there are almost no progressive groups fighting for amendment to get money out of politics? In fact, a lot of them, like Common Cause, fight to kill a convention to propose one, and they do nothing to get one through any other path. Wolfpack HQ stands almost alone, so he's back into fundraising mode in order to raise for his stupid political action committee, which, of course, when everybody else does it, there's a problem. So then they respond to him talking shit, and they say, Jank, Wolfpack stands alone because the Progressive and Democracy Constitutional Reform Community knows a convention is a dangerous idea. That not only includes us, but also League of Women Voters, ACLU, Fred Wertheimer, whoever the fuck that is, Brennan Center, Campaign Legal, NAACP. So they're basically like the other super PACs are fighting with Jank because he's trying to like basically say, well, my super PAC is better. You know, my super PAC has a bigger dick than yours. That's Cenk Uger's big. He's picking today.
I don't understand how they're getting money out of politics by keeping money in politics either.
But you don't understand. This is him using this dick measuring contest in order to distract from the fact that this is like his Normandy, you know, and he's on the beach and you know, all the what's it called? All the troop transports are landing and he doesn't have any ammo to keep them off. Donna
Brazil wins every dick measuring contest.
Yeah, that's for sure. He better not mess. He better not mess with that dress. What else is it? So I don't know. Maybe I should just keep it. So Common Cause then says, you and Wolfpack keep failing to convince legislators that your idea for a constitutional convention is a good one, instead of thinking of new ways to lobby and campaign to move your bad and dangerous idea forward. You pathetically spend your time attacking us. They should have said attacking us on the day when the rest of the world is owning you, but they didn't, because I guess they have enough manners to, you know, I mean, they should have really just stuck the knife in him and told him to you know, debate, what's his name, you know, Charlie Kirk or something. So then he says, why do you continue to spend the money donated to you pretending to care about Citizens United while actually bragging about how you use your lobbyists to keep money in politics? That's gross. And then he what's it called? He Twitter mentions The Hill, Axios, The Intercept, Guardian, The New York Times, and The Washington Post. So this is just 11 hours ago. This is him basically trying to start a different argument to distract from his idiocy now. And then Jenk says he retweets them again using the same tweet instead of a different one. Actually, no, this is a new one. Hold on. Let me read this. So then he says, you lie and don't mention that we have supported and helped pass resolutions calling for a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United in 17 states. We also passed real reform that changes the system now, like citizen-funded elections. Whatever, who gives a shit? This isn't even the real topic. And then he says, hilarious, so you've asked Congress to pass an amendment. How is that going for you? You know that is completely feckless. Meanwhile, you kill off one option that can actually work, asking states to propose an amendment. You fight furiously to keep money in politics. So, you know, then he says, this is 7 hours ago, he says, will real Donald Trump now finally admit the Mueller investigation was not a, quote, witch hunt? There was no fix, no political hit job, but a real prosecutor doing his job. Will the right wing admit they were full of it when they made those endless, baseless claims?
No, because if it wasn't a witch hunt, he would have been done in a month and there would have been 0 indictments. You know what I mean? It wasn't an honest investigation. It's stretched out for 2 years for no good reason. And then he got Manafort and Cohen and a few people and tried to go after Roger Stone and some. None of that shit. It was direct. None of that shit proved Trump colluded with Russia. It was all nonsense. That's because he was like going so hard in witch hunt mode is the reason that there were any indictments and indicting the Russians that they're never gonna be extradited here. It's nonsense. I mean, did these Russians that were indicted, were they like little trolls with like fake pictures? I mean, who are we indicting here?
So then this is the funniest tweet. He says, "Let me be clear. I concede nothing. I concede nothing, all in caps. If #Mueller report didn't look into Trump's business ties with the Russians before the elections and didn't look into his secret meetings with them after the election, then this is an epic debacle that looked into the exact wrong things." So he got really ratioed on this, 1.6 thousand to 368, which is, that's the way you judge shit on Twitter, I guess. And
Twitter
Tim
is
Black,
becoming like a Democratic Party hug box too.
Tim Black
because there's so much censorship.
Tim Black tweeted like a cartoon of Daffy Duck tap dancing about that.
Yeah.
And all these people, like, these are progressives too. Like this person, Bernie Bro Dave, says, "I just subscribed. Could you wait a while to drive me away?"
I think a lot of TYT's audience is hate watching, and it's not even. It's like their own audience that is that is now hate watching. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, there are people that like from genuinely that were like their audience, a year or two ago, and now they're just hate watching.
Yeah, these are some fun reactions. There's the African laughter one. There's the fat boy.
Can you admit it's not a witch hunt now? Okay, fine. We'll say that Mueller report is all fine and good if they just drop it and don't keep on saying Trump is a Russian spy and have 50 investigations. Except they're going to do that, so fuck that. Sorry, there's the language again.
We have Dave McDowell is back. I think Dave McDowell is the art guy from.
He's also. Prints. I believe he's the secure eunuch as well, so you might want to talk to him sometime. I think he does some of those calls.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
I think that's him.
Those creep me out. I forgot that was him.
I think he does Donna Brazil too.
Yeah, he does. He should be like a horror movie actor. He knows how to do like really creepy shit. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, he has that voice.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Anyway, yeah, welcome back, buddy. This is we're all among friends here. Most people I think here are like also HB and ABL people. So, it's great to have this group of people watching. So then Glenn Greenwald starts to get on his case, and he says, turning on Mueller and impugning his integrity and competence is the inevitable outcome. It's the only play the Trump-Russia devotees have, and here's the start. So he basically retweeted Cenk Uygur, and then Cenk says, "Glenn, that's totally unfair. I don't know what corporate Democrats are going to do, but I'm frustrated at the scope of the investigation. I don't question Mueller's integrity or competence one bit. It was the Democrats that wrongly focused only on the election. You bitch! You fucking bitch, Cenk Uygur. They convicted Manafort of a crime that was completely tangential to the election. So how can you say it was limited to the election? I mean, what kind of idiot is this?
I think Mueller did what he could as a witch hunter. I think if he tried to serve Trump with indictment, or if he went really crazy and delivered some report saying Trump is a Russian spy like the Democrats want, he doesn't have any standing to get away with that. It's because it's nonsense. So I think he did what he could as a witch hunter, meaning going after Manafort and Cohen and everybody and indicting the Russian trolls and pretending there was something there when there wasn't. But he can't go so far as to try and make Trump look guilty of stuff because it's just there's no substance to that. He can't get away with it.
So here's another reply by Glenn Greenwald that says, It certainly sounds like you were attacking Mueller in his report for failing to look at the things he should have investigated. Isn't that your critique? I apologize if so. Glenn Greenwald is also a fucking, homo. He is. Sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? This is not a judgment on his lifestyle because obviously I played Billie Myers at the beginning and I have no problem with her music. And she happens to be of the same persuasion as him. But this is the type of reaction that you would get from somebody of that persuasion. And, to be honest with you, that's what Glenn Greenwald brings to the table.
Well, he's a hardcore progressive, and he's right about some stuff and wrong about some stuff, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, he's wrong
sometimes
about it.
Sometimes he says stuff that I think is great, but not all the time.
Yeah, I think he's smarter than Cenk Uygur for sure.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
So then Uygur says, hold on. I'm sure you and I still completely disagree on real Donald Trump ties to Russia. I'm as certain today as I ever have been that he had illegal ties to the Russians and did them favors as president. But I didn't say it was connected to the election. So later, one day, he's going to say, well, when I said Russians, it didn't necessarily mean the Russian government. It could have been, like
Yakov Smirnov.
Yeah, like Sergei Fedorov of the Red Wings. That's the biggest Russian I remember when I was growing up playing
I just
hockey.
know Yakov Smirnov. That's like the only Russian I know.
and then he retweeted all this crap from Wolfpack, which is his garbage organization. And then Cenk said, hey, real Donald Trump, if Mueller was part of an illegal takedown and led a witch hunt, why didn't he just say you were guilty? Because
he couldn't get away with it.
Yeah, if you press charges,
he did as much as he could.
If you press charges and they don't hold up in court, and by the way, a lot of these are not going to hold up in court. A lot of these charges are going to get the Flynn prosecution is going to be reversed in the opinion of many people. So it's like
Mueller did as much as he could for the Democrats and the deep state, but he's not so stupid that he's just going to overreach and try and say the president's a traitor when there's no standing for that. He can't go that far, or he's going to get himself in trouble and then just make the entire thing even more of a joke than it already is. So that would be totally overplaying it. That's why he's not doing that. That's like you're playing poker and you're raising the stakes and shit, and then you're like, okay, a pair of threes, I win. You can't do that at the end. It doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
you have
exactly.
to back off at some point. You have to say, okay, I call or whatever. You can't just be like, okay, a pair of twos, I win at the end. At some point, you have to, you can't like overreach that far.
Yeah,
he did what he could.
So Cenk's last tweet about this topic, as of right now, is, hey, real Donald Trump, if Mueller was part of an illegal takedown and led a witch hunt, why didn't he just say you were guilty? One, so this is his answer. This is him doing the stupid fake puppet show like HB talks about. One, Trump is a crazy conspiracy theorist. Two, he was covering up something, just not the thing that Mueller investigated. Parentheses, the election. Then he misspells Mueller report hashtag. This guy is, if you are a subscriber to TYT and you are watching me today and you continue to pay money for Cenk Uygur, you deserve to be basically screwed. I think you deserve to lose all of your money. You deserve to go to Vegas and basically be, play the roulette and lose every single turn. You deserve that because you're wasting your money.
Well, they were, maybe it was a few months ago or so, but they were begging and claiming they needed millions of dollars and stuff, and I don't think they probably reached like a tenth of their goal.
Yeah, they didn't even get close. It's something.
They got that money from the rich donors anyway. They don't need money.
Yeah, from
they have plenty of money.
Like DreamWorks or something, DreamWorks or Disney or whatever.
Well, Katzenberg, there's other. They call them like Democratic kingmakers. I don't know. It's rich donors.
So anyway, so with the time remaining, I guess we'll do 10 more minutes. Is that good?
That's fine.
So the way forward, that as I see it, and chime in when if you see differently, but I think that this Nadler committee. I think he's the House Judiciary Committee, and of course there's the Oversight Committee with I believe the chair of that committee is Cummings, and then the Intelligence Committee is chaired by Adam Schiff. So
These people are just idiots, man.
so they're
Cummings
going to
and
be
Schiff.
they have no clue. Like they're going to be calling all these witnesses. It's going to get them worse. They're stuck in this finger trap. Like the more here's the issue, okay?
They're just in denial. They need to be issued tinfoil hats. Like Adam Schiff, he's just like, well, I don't care. I'm going to open another 50 investigations. I don't care. You know, they're all downplaying the Mueller report now when they've been saying for 2 years, just you wait for that Mueller report, and then it's Mueller time, and it's like wah wah. Oh no, it's not about that. Yeah, he's still a Russian spy, sure.
But like Dave McDowell is saying, the tide has changed. Time to fight back. What's really going to happen is the Democrats are actually going to be helping everybody else fight them, because they're going to be subpoenaing all these people who were part of the Mueller investigation, and then those people are going to be spilling the beans on all the dirty crap that did happen. They're going to subpoena Papadopoulos, and when Papadopoulos starts spilling the beans on the crazy shit that he told Dan Bongino on his podcast, you know, and it's going to be entered into the official record. The Democrats
also,
are going to
Carter Page too. He got slandered too.
Carter Page. Who's another person? Jay Sekulow, Roger Stone. I believe they'll eventually have to call.
Yeah.
If they put Roger Stone on the stand, it will dramatically blow up in the Democrats' face, because
it came out what he was doing with WikiLeaks was that he was claiming he was in with them and shit in 2016 to look like an insider, and then the only messages they sent were WikiLeaks saying like, hey, quit trying to pretend you're an insider, and then they claim that that's proof that he's an insider with WikiLeaks. It's nonsense. And I mean, there's no evidence that WikiLeaks works for Russia or any of that shit anyway. It doesn't. I mean, it's nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, on the contrary, I think WikiLeaks is they're the world's wild card. They kind of screw with every government. So,
and they promoted that they were having bombshells, October surprise. They were promoting it months in advance, and then they're like, oh, Roger Stone's saying that they're going to have information soon about Hillary Clinton. Yeah, well, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks were promoting that shit openly. So that's how he found out with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I really think that their miscalculation is so bad that they have nothing. They can't do anything now. Like, I would say that, because the problem is this, okay? Hear me out for a second. The ones who know how bad it is, they can't go back, because they've been saying the whole time, well, we need the entire truth out. We need the entire report out. And once the entire report is out, it's going to reveal so much stuff that looks bad for them that they're not going to have any excuse. They're going to have to say, well, you know, the documents are lying to you. You know, the things that are actually like the actual material facts.
Mueller's not good enough. We need to get Hillary Clinton in there as a new special prosecutor to take it to the next level.
Right? Yeah, special prosecutor Bill Maher. It's
special prosecutor George Soros.
Yeah, exactly. or what's her name? The woman Anna Navarro.
Yeah, the Republican, the conservative.
Yeah.
I love all these like fake TV Republicans.
Oh my god.
That want like open borders and universal health care and hate Trump, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's a Republican, sure.
That's why I'm not gonna. That's why I don't want to be active in a party or in an organization, because you have to actually be a part of something that they're a part of. So what the hell is the point?
Well, they're literally, okay, so the Democrats, they want their gimmick to be like, we're not the Republicans, and that's what's good about us. But ironically, what's good about the Republicans is they're not the Democrats. At least not technically. I mean, I know there's some overlap, uniparty stuff, but really the best thing I can say about the Republicans is they're not the Democrats.
Yeah, that's the only say. I mean, I guess.
And right now we're stuck with a two-party system. I mean, I would like the ranked choice voting and less disenfranchisement of third parties. But yeah, we're kind of stuck with the two big ones dominating.
Yeah,
I don't even think I think the Democratic Party should be demoted. You know what I mean? It shouldn't even be a major party because any party that yells at the third parties for losing 1% of the vote to Jill Stein, any party that's such a whiny bitch like that deserves to be demoted and not even be a major party anymore.
Yeah, they have to be broken up like the big banks that Bernie claimed that he would break up. Anyway, I think we did enough, but thanks for joining on short notice. I know that.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. If I can plug real quickly, hopefully I'm setting up a live stream with Swarthy Immigrant tomorrow night. Hopefully, tentatively. But if anybody knows Swarthy Immigrant, he's also been he's banned multiple times from Twitter.
Yeah, so I put this is Lennon McCarthy is in I put him in the chat, so check out his channel. I might actually check out that live stream tomorrow as well. If tomorrow is Monday, right? I don't think that there's any basketball games tomorrow. I'm watching the NCAA, so that's the only thing that tears me away at all from this stuff with Bob Mueller. But other than that, it's like straight up Mueller all day. Like Bob Mueller is like
Mueller time.
He's like MVP now.
I'll have to get some beer so we can have like Mueller time,
Yeah, maybe we should do like a drunk stream with. I don't have any actually I have some Bacardi here, but I'm not in drinking mood today. But yeah, we should do like a drunk stream about that. But yeah, that's about it.
Anyway, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Take it easy. So I'll just sign off. I'll tell everybody, and then we'll play the music again, the sad music of the Mueller report. Kiss the Rain, or Kiss the Tears, it should be renamed. But yeah, good night, Lennon, and good night as well to Dave McDowell, Stormy Horseface Daniels, Larry Gerke, Larry Geislinger, Nick's Radio. I didn't see you earlier, but welcome again. And Zatoichi, Kane Sword, over from the ABL group, HFX Pro, Willman 757, also from the ABL group. You guys, I listen to both ABL and Hard Bastard, even though they typically have streams concurrent with each other. But that's about it. So have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Can you hear me? Am I getting through to you? Hello. Is it late there? There's laughing on the line. Are you sure you're there alone? 'Cause I'm trying to explain something's wrong. You just don't sound the same. Why don't you go outside, kiss the rain whenever you need me, kiss the rain whenever I'm gone too long. If your lips feel lonely and thirsty, kiss the rain and wait for the dawn. Keep in mind the same sky, and the night is miss me. I hear you say you do, but not the way I'm missing you. What's new? How's the weather? Is it stormy where you are? 'Cause I'm so close, but it feels like you're so far. Oh, wouldn't mean everything if you knew what I'm left imagining. In my mind,